chat on the side. My beloved chat. The Random Shay, Kaneki-chan, Momo, Taya Gaming, Alien Princess, Joman the Boy, Marissa the Video Maker, Crystal Zier, Rashiram Cupcake, Game Assassin, Spicy Meatloaf, User Name. Everybody's rolling in here. This is great. So good to see everyone. Let me know how the audio quality is. Give me the okay sign. And we're gonna kick it right into high gear, reading some spooky tales. As you can see, a big change to the stream has occurred. Thank you for the okay sign, guys. I appreciate that. We have got this new invention. It's called a sticky note. And basically, anybody who donates or requests a story, yeah, you like the up next note. Thank you. I appreciate that, Alaskan Cat. Kind of lets you know what's coming up, because basically that's what I would have for myself. But in case I forget something, you can let me know to add that to the list, because sometimes, things get a little out of control at times there. Caitlin Sanchez says, Let's Read, I just got off one of my favorite YouTubers because I saw the live. I literally screamed. I think I scared my mom. That's hilarious. That's awesome. I appreciate that. I appreciate you joining. It's good to see you back. Gave you a little shout out last time with you and your buddy. So I do appreciate that. You left a 15 million subscriber video for me. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. Truly do. I think last time we left off, for those that were here on the previous stream, last time on Let's Read, we were reading a spooky story. I think it was about Satan or something like that. One of those situations where it was like a ritual creepypasta. Does anyone here remember the name of that creepypasta? So I can just... Devil's Game, lol what? There you go. Thank you, lol what. Thank you to anybody else who was going to say that as well. I typed in Devil's what? W-U-T. Devil's Game creepypasta. Well, I'm glad you guys are getting the notification to come join the party. Would love to get as many people in as we can here. Let everyone know. Share it with your friendies. I should do a Minecraft Let's Play series. Perhaps down the road. And last we left off, I believe we were learning about exactly what not to do when summoning the devil. Hey! Oh, my sticky note's getting in the way a little bit there. Let me figure out how to scoot that way. But Delaney Danger with a $9.99 dono. I listen to your videos all day at work. You're my favorite scary story narrator on YouTube. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Delaney. I really appreciate that donation. That was really kind of you. Thank you. I am going to edit this up next boy. If I can scoot his little bottom up here, perhaps even make him, look at that, make him bigger. You guys like technology? You like technology? This is what you've become. A sticky note on a screen. But yeah, Delaney, let me know. And if any of the mods are here, Delaney, if you got a request for a type of story, any type of story, I am happy to oblige there. So, the Prince of Darkness doesn't just go around giving out winning lottery numbers. We remember reading that. Your dog says hi, Tanya. Tell your dog I said what's up. Once you're sure you have all the supplies with you, make your way into the church and Find some place to set up. It can be anywhere from the main sanctuary where services are held, to a Sunday school classroom, to a walk-in supply closet. Also, let me know if the music is too loud. There's Kashi. Kashi, what's going on? Good to see you. Kashi's a kind moderator here who can inform me of any missed messages Delaney had donated, so in case she would prefer one. But good to see you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. We are currently reading The Devil's Game. Once you're sure you have all the right supplies with you, make your way into the church and find some place to set up. It can be anywhere from the main sanctuary to where services are held, to a Sunday school classroom, to a walk-in supply closet, as long as you have a sufficient amount of open floor space and are certain not to be disturbed. Set up your mirror first. This is where the devil will appear when you summon him. As such, you mustn't complete the summoning until you've laid down certain wards around it. First, surround the mirror with an unbroken circle of salt. If the mirror is hanging on a wall or door, lay down a semicircle around it instead. Make sure that the salt touches the wall at both ends, then wrap your red string around the mirror several times. The color red, especially red string, is symbolic of protection in the folklore of many cultures and religions. This is also why red candles are a good idea. Speaking of the candles, set them up around the outside of your circle or semicircle of salt, spaced at relatively even intervals. No, you don't have to get out measuring tape and make it exactly perfect, but do at least try to make it look as though it was set up by someone old enough to be trusted with matches. Alright, I do remember that part from the story. Light the candles in a clockwise fashion, being careful not to disturb the salt. If you break the circle, you'll have to start all over again. Once all of the candles are lit and burning strongly, your protective wards are complete. You are now ready to proceed to the actual summoning. To do so, you first must get the devil's attention and demonstrate your resolve by performing some sort of sacrilegious act in the holy space. Turning a crucifix or cross upside down is fairly conventional, but it's not the only option. For example, I know of a kid who once fulfilled this requirement by scribbling obnoxious graffiti all over a painting of Jesus hanging in his Sunday school classroom. The nice thing about turning a cross upside down is that once you've finished your encounter, assuming you've survived it in one piece, you can just flip it right side up again and no one's the wiser. Sidestepping the relatively minor but still irritating risk of having your Sunday school turn into a reenactment of the Spanish Inquisition for the next month and a half. After you've finished doing whatever offensive thing you've decided on, shut all doors to the room and turn off all the lights so that the space is lit only by the candles, face the mirror, and stare deeply into it, concentrating on your desired outcome. There are no incantations, no arcane strings of Latin that you have to recite. Just look into the mirror and wish as hard as you can for the devil to appear. After a few moments of this, when you feel ready, close your eyes and count to 10, then open them. If all has gone correctly, you will no longer see your own reflection. You'll be looking at the devil, or at least looking at the way the devil has chosen to appear to you. Chances are, he won't look like your conventional red-horned demon with goat legs and a pitchfork, nor any other sort of terrible apparition. No point in scaring you off now, but it'll lure you in, make you feel safe. To that end, he generally takes on the appearance of a fairly average, nondescript human being. If anything, he's prone to vanity and will lean towards the more attractive end of the spectrum. The only thing really frightening, the only real frightening part of him will be his eyes. No matter how hard he tries, he can't hide the sinister gleam smoldering deep within them, the malevolent amusement and hunger, like the eyes of a spider contemplating a fly struggling in its web. They're supremely confident, those eyes. Confident and without pity. Don't look into them too deeply, or you'll begin to feel hopeless and paralyzed with dread, losing your hope and your will to fight. Since you'll probably be standing there staring at him in shock for a few minutes, having on some level expected for the ritual to fail, he'll initiate the conversation by asking what it is you desire from him. If you gather your wits enough to string together a coherent sentence, you should respond with something like, "I wish to challenge you in a game of question and response." Since you'll probably be just standing there staring at him in shock for a few moments, having on some level expected for the ritual to fail, he'll initiate the conversation by asking you what it is you desire from him. If you can gather your wits enough to string together a coherent sentence, you should respond with something like, "I wish to challenge you in a game of Oh, did I just read that? Jesus Christ. Sorry. Even if you don't get the words exactly right, he'll know what you mean, and he'll accept your request with a wide, predatory grin of anticipation. He's been playing this game for a long time, you see, and he's very good at it. Most humans, on the other hand, are very bad at it. This gives him a chance to, at the very least, thoroughly mess with your mind, and at most, well, we'll save that for the litany of shit that could go wrong. You'll have to play it very smart to avoid justifying his expectations. The general rules to the game are very simple, with a few caveats that can make things more complicated. He'll begin by asking you a question. He always initiates the game. It can be anything from a piece of obscure trivia, to a riddle, to an extreme personal inquiry. Don't worry, you won't be immediately plunged into hell if you get the answer wrong or anything like that. As a matter of fact, he won't even tell you whether you got the answer right or wrong. After you've answered his question, you get to ask him one in return. Now, here's where the consequences of your response come in. A-Dubs, with the 555 just now. Thank you, A-Dubs. A true story, please. Hashtag hecking. Hecking, yeah, A-Dubs. Thank you so much. So guys, check this sweet thing out here. I got A-Dubs, and he's requested a true story. That we can handle, A-Dubs. Thank you so much. Let's see if that shows up. There it is. Shows up live and jive. Alright. After you've answered his question, you get to ask. He is free to lie to you as he sees fit. Perhaps if you asked him something you're better off not knowing, he'll tell you the truth about it anyways. More likely, he'll feed you the most insidious, damaging lie he can come up with. Either way, after he's responded, he'll ask you another question, and the process will repeat over and over again until you decide to call it quits. Now, you may be sitting there thinking that it sounds fairly easy to get the information you need. All you have to do is wait for a question you can answer correctly, and then take that opportunity to ask him what you really want to know, ignoring everything else he's said. Well, it's not that simple. The devil will never give you an easy question, one that you can be completely sure of the answer to. He may instead give you questions that you have some vague knowledge of, that you think maybe you know the answer to but aren't really confident, thus forcing you to endlessly second-guess yourself, obsessing over whether or not you can trust the information that he gave you next. Perhaps you'll think what he said was a lie, wish it was a lie, but be eternally consumed by doubt, unable to fully convince yourself that you were wrong. Or perhaps you'll have to make a huge choice based on the information that he gave you, and be tormented by fear and indecisiveness as you realize that your fate, and perhaps that of others as well, rests entirely upon whether or not you would be able to correctly recall some arcane piece of trivia that you don't even remember now. You'll never remember the exact question the devil asked you, by the way. That would make it too easy for you to go back and check your responses. Or maybe, instead of testing your knowledge, he'll ask you something personal, something you even lie to yourself about. You'll answer back to him thinking you've gotten the question correct. No, I don't resent my sister. Yes, I would turn the money into the police. But he'll know better. He'll know better than you do that you're lying, and he'll lie to you in return. And you'll believe him. You'll believe him until you are no longer able to deceive yourself, and by then, it might be too late. Or maybe he won't even give you a chance to get an accurate response at all. Maybe he'll ask you endless strings of completely impossible questions, making you more and more frustrated and disheartened as you realize you will never be able to force him to tell you the truth. Questions like, what is the exact height of Mount Everest in centimeters in the year 1666? Or what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? although knowing his sense of humor, if he ever asked the latter, he might consider African or European a correct response. There are a couple of ways to short circuit this particular strategy, however. Genjay with the £1. Thank you, Genjay. Appreciate that. And prevent you from being stonewalled completely, although in all honesty, he probably wants for you to try one of those options anyway. The first option is to ask him a riddle instead of a question. If you somehow manage to stump him and he answers the riddle wrong or gives up, he'll be obligated to give you a truthful response to your next question. If he answers the riddle correctly, once again, don't worry, he won't pounce on you like a sphinx or drag you into hell. What will happen is that he will get a pass, allowing him to lie in response to one question he would otherwise be obligated to answer truthfully. Honestly, if he gets a pass, you might as well just give up and quit the game right there. It's nearly impossible to determine when he's telling you the truth under the best of conditions, adding another layer of complexity by constantly trying to figure out when and if he's used his pass. It's about enough to make any normal person's brain explode. There's no way, just forget it. The second option is for you to take a dare from him. If you accept it and vow to follow through, then once again he'll have to answer your next question truthfully. If you choose instead to reject it, he'll get another pass. Now, before you freak out and reject that whole idea completely, you should know that he won't ask you to do anything overly dramatic or unspeakably evil, like blow up a hospital or murder somebody. Sydney Higa, $1.99. Love your videos, thank you. Oh, Eric Lane says he's very lonely. Let's give Eric some love, guys. Edgar Carranza with the $5. Thank you, Edgar. Appreciate the dono. Like blow up a hospital or murder somebody. As a rule of thumb, most dares won't involve direct loss of life or any major felonies. However, they certainly won't be easy. Inflicting severe pain on yourself, doing something that terrifies the crap out of you, cutting off a treasured relationship, publicly humiliating yourself or someone you love. All of these things and more, things you might not even be able to imagine, are completely on the table. If you're willing to go that far to put yourself in that kind of position, you'll get your answer. However, if he manages to come up with the one thing you know simply can't or won't do, well then once again, you might as well just quit. One last thing. Don't think you can just tell him you're going to do something and then not do it. If you accept a dare and then don't follow through with it, well, let's just say there will be consequences. Just suck it up and keep your promise, no matter what it is. Trust me, you're better off that way. Finally, when you've either gotten the information you wanted or given up on it completely, Tirza Koning with the one... Is that a euro? I have no... If anybody knows what that symbol is, I think I knew what a pound was. I'm not sure if that's a euro or not. But thank you so much, Tirza. I appreciate it. You may end the ritual by simply thanking the devil for accepting your requests, bowing politely at the waist, and bidding him farewell. The surface of the mirror will seem to swim and flicker for a moment. Lord Nermes. Ever heard of Local 58 on YouTube? I have heard of Local 58, guys. There was a brief period of time where I was kind of hoping to do like kind of analysis videos, a little bit like Nightmind or kind of like Nightmind or Rainbot. And so I was looking into Local 58. Also, guys, I just put a new invite to the Discord if you guys want to join our Discord and chat with various people who like the channel and discuss different ideas and stuff like that over on the Discord. So feel free to click that link and join. But yeah, so I went to Local 58 and there's some pretty quality videos, but the one thing that took me out of the immersion of Local 58 was that at the end it kind of says like copyright so-and-so, you know, edited by so-and-so, written by so-and-so. So it's kind of like, the suspension of disbelief kind of goes away which is fine, because obviously most of those videos aren't real or anything like that, but I wanted to kind of analyze videos that maybe maintained a sense of reality in them or something. But Blankus P with the $10, your channel makes my work days more exciting. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad I can help people get through that. Local 58 uploaded a new video after a long while, though. Okay, that's good to see these still putting out stuff. It is definitely something I'd like to look more into, but if you guys haven't checked that out, it's a pretty fun channel, as far as like kind of comes off as a news, like old footage from a news network that gets pretty creepy the more you dig into it. I'm sure some channel will eventually look into it. Perhaps if anybody wants to. Basically, I recently am kind of like looking for people to help me write scripts and find new ideas to look at, like, such as Local 58 and various other kind of internet series that might exist on the internet that are just like interesting internet oddities that would be cool for analysis and things like that. But if anybody wants to assist with that, definitely hit me up inside Discord or email and all that kind of stuff. Chloe, you say you write scripts. That's awesome. Yeah, would be really cool if you want to hit us up in Discord and discuss some ideas there. That'd be great. The surface of the mirror will seem to swim and flicker for a moment. Eric Lane with the $5. Love your videos. Also, you have some very beautiful subscribers. Hook me up with one. I will see what I can do there, Eric. If anybody wants to take Eric out for a nice steak dinner and text him later, that would be lovely. You know what to do. You know what to do, chat. And then you will be looking at your own reflection again. Only when you are absolutely certain that you're looking into your own two eyes again may you turn away from the mirror, flick the lights back on, and begin dismantling your protections. Now, and this is important, even if you haven't gotten the information that you wanted, you must end the ritual in this manner before 66 minutes have elapsed. Well, I suppose that technically you have 66 minutes and 6 seconds. Subtle, right? But if you're seriously going to try to cut it that close without any kind of timekeeping device, you're probably screwed anyway. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you keep this time limit. I'll save the reason behind that for the end, but don't skip ahead. I've still got a few important tips on how to play. I'm going to turn on this thing called Flux. Has anybody heard of Flux? Basically, it's like an app that puts sort of a warm filter on your screen so you can stare at it for many, many hours at a time without getting glaucoma by the time you're 30. Okay. Number 1, be very careful what sort of personal information you give out. Try not to talk about yourself, especially your emotions and problems, any more than absolutely necessary. This guy knows human psychology like the back of his hand, and he will get inside of your head. It's like talking to Hannibal Lecter. Give him enough to work with, and even if you don't believe a single word he says, he will still find ways to fuck with your mind like nobody's business. If anything he asks makes you remotely uncomfortable, do not hesitate to lie through your teeth. There will be plenty of other questions. 2. On a similar note, try to keep the game on track and moving briskly. Unstructured interactions of any kind are to be avoided. Chances are that at some point, he will try to draw you off on a tangent, discussing something that fascinates you, analyzing a response you've given him, or finding some other excuse to speak at length without moving the game forward. This is not only a waste of valuable time, but also another excellent opportunity to mess with your mind. 3. If you choose to give him a riddle, use one you've made up yourself. If your riddles have ever been written down anywhere at all, from the pages of The Hobbit to some long-lost tome of ancient magic, he will already know the answer. That said, it still has to be a legitimate riddle, with an answer that makes logical sense from some angle. It can't just ask something like, "What's green, has 10 legs, and hops?" Hey, Anton said with a 189 donation, you get me through my shift overnight. We'll be donating again tonight. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Antonio Rubenstein. That's a cool name. It was kind of hard to read because it was all in one word there. Oh, the thirst is real. Everybody take a drink if you're thirsty. I'm thirsty. Okay, let us begin ASMR. AJ with the 5 says, hey man, keep doing your thing. You make my morning cardio actually doable. That's awesome. Yeah, anytime I do cardio, I need some sort of music or something to take my mind away from what I'm doing. I have no idea how the caveman men did it in the past when they were chasing down brontosauruses and whatnot. Then claimed for some inexplicable reason that the answer was marshmallows. Nor can you ask him a straight question like, what have I got in my pocket? Alexi Johnston with the $1. Thank you, Alexi. I want to make it. It made the noise kind of before yours popped up, so I think that was it. Maybe it was just kind of caught up there. But thank you so much for the $1. Appreciate it. Nor can you ask him a straight question like, what have I got in my pocket? He probably knows that anyway. There are no hard and fast rules to determine whether a riddle makes sense or not, but you're a reasonable human being. Your ancestors ate from the tree of knowledge. Please, for the love of crap, use common sense. For, if you choose to take a dare, there is a slight chance that the devil will ask you to do something seemingly easy. Deliver a letter, for instance, or scribble a 10-digit number in a public restroom stall. If he does ask you for something like this, and you have even a shred of common decency in you, do not accept. Chances are that he's using you to further some sinister plot, one liable to ruin a lot of lives and harm a lot of people. Who knows? Maybe you're the type of person who really doesn't mind throwing an unknown number of total strangers under the bus to find out what you want to know, but at least be aware that that is what you're doing. 5. Last but not least, be very aware of the time. It might be helpful to do some practicing beforehand and get a feel for how long an hour is without a watch. The devil will probably put off discussing the things you're most keen to find out for as long as he can, and as you near the 66-minute deadline, he'll start trying harder and harder to distract you, captivate you, and otherwise keep you playing until it's too late. He'll string you along, feed you little glimmers of false hope, keep you thinking. Just a few more minutes. I'm almost there. Don't fall for it. Don't go over the time limit, no matter what. Titus Jack with the 199 pounder euro says, Burger King foot lettuce. Nice. Nice. Now, you might be thinking that this game doesn't really sound all that dangerous so far. Threats of psychological damage rarely seem to carry the same weight as threats of physical damage, even though their costs are often just as great. Hate to burst your bubble, but the game is far from safe. Sorry, I'm going to turn down the music a little bit, just a tad loud. Also, this music is from Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse. The link should be in the description down below if you guys would like to check him out. He makes a lot of dark ambient songs that are royalty free, so any other creepypasta or people who need music for the background and want to keep it subtle, they can find it at Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse. Panda with the $5 says, your narrations help me fall asleep. Keep up the good work. Love you, bro. That's awesome. It does make me happy that people can fall asleep to my voice. Now, you might be thinking that this game really doesn't sound all that dangerous so far. And it is with these that I will conclude in the vain hope that they may make some sort of impression. Edgar Carranza, true scary story with a touch of butter socks. Absolutely. That is what we will do right after this. Edgar True story. Perfectly swell. Thank you, Edgar, for the $5. First, while you're speaking with the devil, do not let him out of your sight. Keep staring into the mirror no matter what happens. He will undoubtedly try various tricks to make you look away. You will hear noises behind you, feel eyes on the back of your neck, see shadowy phantoms writhing in the depths of the mirror. A cold breeze will blow upon you from behind, smelling like the crypt. A deep silence will settle, only to be interrupted with a loud smack directly behind your head, giving you about the worst jump scare you've ever had. Hell, the devil may even abandon a measure of his own dignified facade and give a sudden jump of feigned shock, shouting loudly and pointing behind you with a very convincing look of terror on his face. Whatever he might test you with, you must not look away from him. If you look away, if you lose sight of him completely, even for 1 second, you will look back at the mirror and find him gone. Well, not gone. Out of the mirror, in the room, with you. Exactly how much of your body the police will find the next morning and what state it's in will depend entirely on the sort of mood he's in. Marion Sakima with the 99 cent. I don't know if you... is it cent? Would it be cent in that currency? I am not too sure. You guys can fill me in on that. Danny Combs says, do all donations count? Yeah, I kind of have like a list here just to keep things more efficient. Like, obviously I would shout you out for, I'd try to keep things more efficient so that if someone donates a lot, I would obviously like to honor that a little bit more than like someone who donates a little and wants me to read like something like The Devil's Game that's forever long here. But yeah. Okay, so Delaney Danger donated and she would like a paranormal story. Please add her to your note. Absolutely, thank you for that. Oops, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Delaney Paranormal. Sweet. Same thing goes if you break any of the protections you laid down before beginning the ritual. Interrupting the circle of salt, letting the red string unwind, knocking over a candle, or letting one go out. Any of these things will free him from the mirror, and then, well, you're all a bunch of creator horror junkies. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. On a different topic, you may reach a point in the game, probably after a long series of maddeningly impossible questions, where the devil asks you the deceptive simple question, what is your full name? You must not give it to him. Names can be things of great power. Although the devil will, of course, already know your name, telling it to him yourself is akin to inviting a vampire into your home. Your name is deeply synonymous with your own inner self. Thus, giving him your name is powerfully symbolic of giving him yourself. If you are foolish enough to make this mistake, all of your protections will be for naught, and he will seize upon your unwitting offer with malicious glee, stealing away your soul and dragging it back with him into hell. At least this way, the police will find a completely identifiable body. As a matter of fact, your vacant shell will be totally unblemished, seemingly having dropped dead of sheer terror. Last, but certainly not least, also I have to ask chat a question. I saw on Twitter earlier that Luigi was trending. Did anybody notice that at all? And I saw a video that Death, the one with a sickle and black overalls and skeleton face, not overalls, but hood, that he killed Luigi. Is this true? Can I get a confirmation on the death of Luigi? Ah, okay. Super Smash Bros. And we're gonna get a ghost Luigi character. Is that what I'm getting? Paranormal ghost Luigi stories. He's officially gonna be coming out of a Luigi board. Last, but certainly not least, there's the matter of what happens if you go over the time limit. This is arguably the worst thing you can do. You won't think so at first. The devil will give you no indication that you have in fact exceeded the time limit, and you will conclude the ritual as if nothing had gone wrong. Perhaps as the devil's image in the mirror trembles and gives way, you'll see a particularly nasty, triumphant smirk flash across his face, but this will be easily dismissed as your imagination. You'll turn the lights back on, gather your belongings, and go to leave the room, but when you open the door, you will see nothing. That's right, nothing. Just a flat white void extending infinitely in all directions. Only the room which was reflected in the mirror will now exist. Incidentally, if you turn back around to face the mirror again, you may catch a last glimpse of your own reflection. Perhaps it will even turn and favor you with a smirk and a cheeky wave before sweeping out the door into the perfectly normal church hallway outside. As you may have already figured out, you yourself are no longer in the church. Your soul is now trapped in the mirror, and the devil has taken the liberty of possessing your body, now that you are no longer using it. Pound on the glass and scream all you like. You'll never get out on your own, and no exorcist can help you. But don't worry, it's not like you're in hell, right? At least not necessarily. Out of body. Paranormal. Thanks for all you do. Absolutely. What you have to understand, see, is that a human soul, stripped bare of its flesh, is a deeply volatile and vulnerable thing, especially when trapped in the land of the living. You are now an entity of purely mental properties, and as such, the barriers between what is real to you and what is imaginary have been completely dissolved. As you fill that reflected room with your anger, your sorrow, your fear at being trapped, these emotions will begin to coalesce, given form by your mind. If you're not particularly imaginative, these creatures may not be too terrible, may not be able to inflict too much horror and pain. With time, you may even be able to teach yourself to get rid of them. If, however, yours is a mind haunted by monsters, a mind that is vibrantly creative and imaginative and more than usually twisted, well, there's no telling what horrors might come crawling their way out of the maelstrom, tasting sweet release from the confines of your subconscious, hungering for your terror and suffering. They will refuse to be banished, dragging you and kicking and screaming into an endless positive feedback loop of pain and fear. Titus Jicht with the 199. Can I get a Luigi board story? I think so. There actually are Ouija board, wedgie board, Luigi board stories I have available, and they are more than ripe for reading. Chloe Rousseau with the 229. Keep reading for us sleepyheads in Europe. Oh yeah, you guys are probably... How far ahead are you guys right now? Like 12 hours or something, cray? Something cray. Thank you. Oh, I guess if you did request something, let me know. Eric Lane with the 5 says, I love your werewolf stories best. Everyone in chat, excluding Queen Summer, is beautiful. Well, there you go, chat. I personally would feel pretty flattered by that comment. So, like I said, DMs, they're available to Eric. Hit him up. Needless to say, if you're a regular patron of websites like this one, you're probably pretty well fucked. There's only one way to find release from the mirror and the world that you've created therein. They say that if you call to the devil once more and ask him to free you from the mirror, he'll be willing to take you out, for the usual fee, of course. Who knows, maybe if your imagination is twisted and powerful enough to create a personal hell that leaves you begging for the real thing, those talents might be put to good use. There are over 7 billion people in the world, after all. Even the devil himself can't be messing with all of their minds at once. Talented help is always appreciated. Of course, the corollary to... Is that a word? Corollary to your being trapped. Guys, let's look up what corollary means. Not the dilly-dally here. I just never... When you come across a word, it feels good to know what it means.
Corollary.
A proposition that follows from and is often appended to one already proved. Okay, so it's like a side piece of information? Forming a proposition that follows from one already proved. Okay, so once one point is made, now comes the corollary? Of course, the corollary to you're being trapped inside the mirror is that the devil now gets to do whatever he wants in your body until sunrise. Okay, so it's like part of his contract or something like that. Wait, are people... What is it? People are getting removed or something? There's some... Oh, yeah, there's some words that I think I had put in the stream to obviously avoid being... shown, or, you know, so I apologize if there's like too much of swears or the swears, you know, or racial things and things like that. It's gonna get censored just to keep things more positive here, obviously. Corollary. Brianna Avila with the huge $25 says, "Oh my god, I love you so much. You are incredibly awesome, and I appreciate the quality and consistency of your vids. Keep it up. You should wife me up one day too, though." Thank you, Brianna. I do really appreciate that, and I appreciate the offer for the wifing upping. Perhaps one day. Hey, let's read. Just a question. Have you ever considered doing anything with the SCP universe as videos sometime? That's a good question. I do like SCP stuff. It's never really struck me, I guess, as a genre I could try. But maybe on one of my like Saturday videos or something, I could... I don't know, how do we do SCP videos? Do you just do like one specific long one, or do you do a few? That would be interesting for like little documentary things where you actually kind of talk about it with like visual elements and things like that, almost like it's like an analysis of this creature or whatever it might be. But that would be fun. Corollary. At around that time, your body will mercifully drop dead from the strain of the possession. Autopsy will probably identify the cause as some kind of coronary event. That's funny. Don't get too relieved, though. He's perfectly capable of stirring up plenty of trouble in those few hours. Paris Rachel Garachi with the $20 says, "Thank you for all the time, creativity, and diligence you put into your craft. Appreciate you. Love your vids." Thank you so much, Paris. Yeah, guys, I've got got a video obviously coming out here in about 2 hours, which is great because we got 2 hours to chill. Let's read and chill. And so I do appreciate you guys' support here, and honestly it's been incredibly massively supportive, especially as the channel kind of went through some major changes that kind of like essentially cut views and revenue and things like that like into 1/3. So that is very generous of you guys, and I really appreciate that. But I hope you guys also after the stream will check out the newest video and enjoy that. I'm putting out 4 videos. I know that they're not like an hour long anymore, but my thought is like to do 4 videos, consistent content to kind of reach more subscribers and really grow the library back up. My thought is that 30-minute videos should, I hope, be sufficient, as far as people who use it to fall asleep, or maybe even just use it to listen to while they, do a particular task or something like that. And then even if you want to save up all the videos, like some people save them up for the week and binge watch them all in one go, that's cool too. Make a playlist. I mean, there's quite a few playlists in there. Morgan asks, "Do you vape?" I don't vape like on my own, but if someone has a vape, I gotta hit that, dog. Do I play Fortnite? I've played Fortnite. I play a lot of Overwatch. Once again, you guys can see some of my old streams of me raging playing Overwatch. So, Fortnite is, I get the appeal. I get it. It's, to me, not the most fun I've ever had, I guess, playing a shooter. I am kind of looking forward to some new stuff to try out here, especially related to Battle Royale games with Call of Duty and Battlefield 5. Is it 5 now? V or whatever. you know, I have no idea what to expect with those, and I may even hate them. But yeah, Fortnite, it's great that it's as successful as it is. I think it was a fantastic business decision on the team that made that game, especially since it was like a really cool tower defense zombie survival game initially, building and stuff. Like, that was, to pump that out and then suddenly take yourself like above PUBG and all that is a really, really great idea. But yeah, so about the SCP thing, I think some top 10s would be cool, but also maybe some in-depth videos about specific ones if they're interesting enough, though there's already a lot of people doing SCP stuff. Okay, good to know. Do I have a PS4 or Xbox? I have, my roommate has them. I bought an Xbox for Halo 5. I remember I was gonna like stream that, and I was gonna stream that or like do a let's play of it or something like that. I don't even know what I was doing at the time. I remember getting an Elgato game capture, and it was just kind of an utter failure, and I legitimately didn't have any reason for the Xbox other than playing Halo 5. And back in the day I played the crap out of Halo 2 back in high school, and after that it was like every time they made a new iteration of the game, it was like, that feeling where you're like, I already played this game 100 times before. It's got a new shiny coat of paint on it, but like, I don't need it again. So yeah, but I had an Xbox One. I had a PS4 I bought one time because I wanted to play Grand Theft Auto 5 in first person mode. That's right. Yeah, they had first person mode, and I was really stoked about that, and I kind of wanted the PS4 anyways. So basically, long story short, I ended up giving my Xbox One to my pastor's kids, because every kid needs like a gaming system or something like that. So I was like, screw it, you guys can have this. And then I sold my PS4 to my roommate. So if there's like a PS4 game or something like that that comes out on both, because I'm pretty stoked for Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't know if anybody else is as stoked. Lucy Herring, Senpai noticed me. What's up? So we will see how that goes whenever that comes out. I might actually end up having to steal my roommate's PS4 to play it, but I know he'll play it too. So, but a lot of times I play games on the PC. Like today is August 8th. Tomorrow, or at some point, comes out Monster Hunter. I would really like to stream Monster Hunter because I got some friends who you guys may have experienced in previous streams that I might be playing with here. So that should be a really good time. Yesenia España, love your videos, bruh. Shout out. Salito. I don't know how to say that. But yeah, so Monster Hunter should be a good time. I've really never played many of those games, but this one does look pretty sick, and I just kind of prefer to play games on the PC now because it's just so easy. So you don't care about PS4's early access on COD DLC. PC is usually last to get the DLC. I know, that is annoying, especially with the Grand Theft Auto series. PC is last to get it, but I think they almost kind of do that on purpose. So it's like, I remember I got an Xbox 360, and then they did the release on PS4, Xbox One, and people bought it there, and then people bought it again when it came on PS or PC, and it's like, oh my god, these guys are milking this cow hard. And I think, business-wise, they've done it. They've done it pretty well. Eric Lane with the $2. Let's trade voices. I sound worse than Mike Tyson. It's me, Mike Tyson. That's okay. Mike Tyson's a cool guy. He'll knock you out. He'll punch you in the fucking face. He'll eat your family. If you guys haven't ever watched a Mike Tyson video, it's pretty damn funny. Okay. So I should probably stop rambling for a second. For instance, he may decide to do something big and dramatic, like purchase a large meat cleaver and go on a murder spree. starting with the names in your address book and working his way out to complete strangers if he has time, or perhaps he'll focus on only one person, someone who trusts you completely, using your persona to get to him or her alone and vulnerable, and then, well, no need to describe it here. Once again, I'm sure you can think of a few things. Starting to see why I called this the worst outcome yet. Of course, there's also a chance he won't lay a finger on any of your loved ones, instead deciding to do something a little more subtle, more insidious, like drop off a few nondescript unmarked packages on certain doorsteps in the dangerous part of town, or locate a particularly dusty, age-yellowed text in the storeroom of your local library and intentionally misfile it in the young adult literature section, or whisper 7 very choice words in the ear of the distracted-looking young redhead waiting for the 3 a.m. subway train. I think we can all relate to that. Or maybe he'll decide that in this age of waning superstition, not enough people are getting interested in his games, and the knowledge of them is in danger of being lost. Maybe he'll decide he needs to get the word out a bit more, do a bit of networking, attract some new suckers, challengers. Maybe he'll take a quick peek at your browser history, see where the impressionable, curious minds are hanging out these days. Maybe he'll even write a quick tutorial in modern parlance rather than some inscrutable, obsolete, demonological text. Post it on the internet and see how many bites he gets. Haha, maybe. I really shouldn't have gone there. But if you made it this far without shying, a little twist at the end isn't going to put you off, is it, dear reader? I'm sure there are plenty of intrepid adventurers among you with burning questions you like answered, and you're all a smart bunch. You know the pitfalls, you know the conventions, you live and breathe this sort of thing, do you not? There's no way you'd fall into any of the obvious traps, right? You're not some Dick or Jane off the street, after all. You'd be bringing a whole new level of competition. You would. Oh, excuse me just a moment. I think I hear someone calling for me. What? You want out that badly? Already? Must be one hell of an imagination you got on you. Perfect. Well, that was good. That was a pretty solid one. Also, I've tried this ritual, and it works. The devil's like, all right, what do you want to know? And I said I wanted to know the secret Krabby Patty recipe. And he was like, I'm pretty sure it's just a big bag of chum from the chum bucket. All right, so we are gonna have a little story time with those individuals who had donated earlier, starting with A-Dub's True Story. Spicy Meatloaf, please let's read. Read my story. I spent so much time searching for one. I will type it out. Please, bro, please. Okay. Just, yeah, if you want to, I'm going to type here real quick my subreddit, reddit.com, r let's read official. And if, oh wait, I'm pretty sure my thing blocked my actual, oh wait. Oh, shoot. If anybody, yeah, anyways, yeah, reddit.com or let's read official. If someone else could link that on there. For some reason, mine was giving me an error message. But, yeah, send it into my subreddit, and I will give it a... Oh. Shoot. Oh, crap. Something happened. Ruh-roh. Did I lose connection to the internet? Oh, everyone, okay. I'm being hacked. Oh, that would be very bad. Oh, God. Well, Titus Jack, can we name the skeleton Thirsty? Thank you for the donut. We certainly can. Thirsty is up there dancing around. Esmeralda with a 199. Hope you have a great week so far. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me get that music back up here. There we go. That was odd. It was like everything just closed at one time. I did update Streamlabs, and Streamlabs was having like it crashed once, so I don't know if it is interacting with it's in beta right now, so I didn't know if it was interacting with other applications and maybe failed. But yeah, that actually is a good name for my... I mean, I guess I've always kind of associated myself with the... Unless the skeleton here is the same skeleton. I don't know if it's the same skeleton for my avatar or if it's like a whole another one, but he is happy and he's dancing, and I think we can call him Thirsty. Have you ever thought about doing audiobooks? I have. And people on like ACX and stuff who like self-publish on Audible and Amazon and stuff like that have asked me to narrate stuff. It's just, I'm sure it pays well, depending on, depending on how well the story does, or not the story, but the books do, or, the hour, however much you're getting paid hourly or by word or whatever. But, YouTube takes up so much time, and then just real life and my other job, working at the hospital, like, it's hard to find time, you know what I mean? If I do work on an actual audiobook at some point, I definitely will try to promote it to you guys and let you know about it. Spicy Meatloaf, isn't your husband supposed to be joining us for dinner? You ask with a smile that doesn't quite meet her eyes. She places down a plate of meatloaf and says, of course. Mega spooked. Nice. Was that your story? Is that what you wanted to submit? It's good. A little backstory on my household. My great-grandfather built the house roughly 50 to 60 years ago, and it's been in the family since. It's a one-story, pretty basic house, but it's home. Anyway, I'm 18 and a guy. Not really important to this, but just so you know. 2 months ago, we were getting ready to go on our yearly 2-week trip to the UK. We live in Ireland, and I'm Irish, but my mom's English, so we go and visit family every year. While preparing to go to the UK, my mom's set of keys, which have everything on them, went missing. The house keys, car keys, shed, family friend's house keys, and keys to the open windows. I've never understood why the locks are on the outside of the windows too, honestly. Anyway, so we searched high and low, but weren't able to locate them. Luckily, my mom had spare keys lying around, so just made a new set. 5 people live in the house, my mom, me, my sister, and our nieces. My bedroom is at the front of the house, so I can see the car and the front door easily. So this is where things start to go strange. A few nights before we were going to the UK, I heard the car unlocking and locking again, over and over. This was at like 2 a.m., mind you. I'm a night owl and was playing Horizon Zero Dawn on my PS4. Confused, I went to my window and saw no one. So I went back to my PS4, but it continued again for another 5 minutes. Shaken, I saved my process and went to bed. But I texted my mom first. She didn't believe me and said it was because I was awake so late playing video games. Right. She wasn't concerned for some reason, despite someone clearly having taken the keys, because the only way someone could unlock and lock the door repeatedly without being seen would be with a key with the buttons on it, which is one of the keys that went missing. The following morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. because my dogs were growling at my feet. Confused but more groggy and annoyed they'd woken me up, I told them to shut up and stop. But that was until I heard someone walking around the side of the house. Absolute chills ran up and down my spine as the walking stopped when the person heard my voice. I don't have an indoor voice and basically yelled at the dogs by accident. I don't like being woken up. I sat up and glanced up at my window, which was curtainless because I was replacing the current pole at the moment and didn't have it finished or up yet. So the darkness was just falling into my room. The outside porch light was on so I could see the car, but whoever this was on the other side of the wall, behind my head. This continued until Sunday, Nothing happened that night, and when we went on holiday, the house minder didn't report anything. Family friends stayed over until a death in their family made them leave, so my sister came home from her boyfriend's to mind the house till we were home. She didn't report anything weird happening either, so the weird 2 to 3 a.m. mishaps faded from my mind, until a few nights ago when everything ramped up again. 4 a.m. My dog's barking, growling at the end of my bed again, and I groaned trying to sleep again, but I noticed there was more light shining in the window, so I sat up rather tired and froze. The front door was wide open. My mom always locks it, and my sister was asleep in her room. Everyone was asleep. Terror washed down me. I have a huge fear of being burgled. I have really bad anxiety issues, and this almost made me have a severe panic attack as I contemplated what to do next. Clicking my spaniel's leash to his harness, I edged from my room, through the hall and kitchen and into the living room. We have automatic lights now, so if you talk to the Google companion thing, it should turn on the lights. But the Wi-Fi was out, so was the power. Fuck. I started shaking because I realized how damn dark it was. My spaniel was a wuss, but I brought him out for moral support basically. But the second I heard the front door, he started growling. The porch light is one of those lights that isn't connected to the main house, so it turns on by itself. Same with the other porch one. So the only way those lights were on is if someone moved near the sensors. I rushed to lock the front door. The small anxiety, nervous dance jump I do when I feel like I'm a throw up from nerves. I quickly ran across the house into the washroom where our power box was, and it switched off. Everything was. So I flicked all the switches back on and scurried to my room, basically dragging my on-edge dog with me everywhere. Hey, Tony L with the $2. Let's read. I'm a big fan. Love your videos. Awesome, Tony. Thank you so much for donating. Appreciate that. Oops. Oh, shit. Oh, croupy. Croupy crap. One second, guys. There we go. Sorry, guys. Whenever it closed my window there, it got rid of. I have like a ambient stock footage or whatever. That's No, Tony, don't feel bad. I didn't lose my spot because of that. It was just because I realized just now that what I was sharing on screen was not the stock footage that I wanted to have showing on the window capture. So I just have to change that right quick. Oops. And then there we go. Creepy trees, back at it. And then, yeah, it's looped. And then I just basically have that on loop, so it can just kind of play. Just something to stare at there. But thank you, Tony, for the dono. Appreciate that. The porch light is one of those lights that isn't connected to the main house, so it turns on by itself. Same with the other porch ones, so the only way those lights were on is if someone moved near the sensors. I rush, lock the front door, do the small anxiety nervous jump I do when I feel like I'm a throw up from nerves. I ran across the house into the washroom where our power box was, and it was switched off. Everything was fine. So I flicked all the switches back on and scurried to my room, basically dragging my on-edge dog with me everywhere. When I went into my room, I sat down on my bed and curled up in a ball, anxiety pains in my stomach, but my blood ran cold, and the second I heard soft taps on my window. Tap, tap, tap. The last tap was louder than the others, and I froze. The tapping continued, and whoever it was scraped clearly the keys on my window. It hasn't happened since, but I've been so anxious after arriving home from work each night that I'll meet someone outside my home. This was only 3 nights ago. My mom won't change the locks at all, and this is continuing. What the hell do I do? Ruh-roh, what do they do now? That is creepy if the person's like taunting them. Seems fun to walk around the woods. It is a good time, huh? I have not done much hiking in quite some time. We got like 300 people in this chat right now. This is great. Appreciate you guys hanging out. And thank you so much to A-Dubs for requesting that story. A-Dubs is also a mod in the Discord. So be sure if you guys up there, Kashi has linked the invite to the Discord. Be sure to go show them some love there and have some cool discussions on the Let's Read Discord. Alright, so now Edgar has also requested a true story. Thank you, Edgar, for the donation. This one's called Creepy Tree Guy. This story takes place in the summer of 2017. My name is John. I live in a rural part of Alabama, but chose to work in the city. The drive is about 45 minutes or so, depending on traffic. However, by the time I pick my son up from the sitter, get dinner, and get home, I've been in the car about 1.5 hours. My house is surrounded by trees, and the neighbors are few and far between. It can be pretty lonely living here, but I enjoy the privacy. One evening, I pulled in my driveway and noticed something odd. The doors of my storage shed were wide open. I told my son to sit in the car as I got out to investigate. I didn't see anything missing and closed the doors back. I know the wind has not blown them open because it has 2 latches you have to open in order to get it open. Excuse me. The next day I looked around, and much to my dismay, 2 weed eaters along with a few other garden tools were missing. I know I should have contacted the police, but I knew there wasn't much they could do at that point. Throughout the week, I had some time off and decided to tackle some yard work that I needed to get done, which included cutting down a medium-sized tree that had grown next to my house. Once I cut it down, it took everything I had to move it to the edge of my property just inside the woods. I planned on cutting it up another day. Fast forward to the next Friday night, I left for work at 7 p.m., picked up my son, and we arrived home at 8:30. As I pulled into the driveway, my son and I noticed something laying across the driveway. It looked as if a tree branch had fallen across my driveway. As I drove up to it, I thought to myself, there are no trees over my driveway. Once I looked towards the base of the tree, my heart sank to the bottom of my stomach. It was the tree that I had cut down. I had put it clear on the other side of my property until I could cut it up. I recognized the markings from the chainsaw. I didn't know what to do. My son and I sat there in silence for at least 5 minutes. I rolled the driver and passenger window down just an inch and listened to hear if anyone was out there. I heard nothing. I then realized, in order for me to get to my house, I would have to move the tree. I told my son I was going to get out and move it just enough so we could get past, and I would lock the doors. If anything happens, he could use my phone to call the neighbor who lived the closest. I darted out of my car and moved the tree slightly and raced back to the car. I was terrified. Luckily, my son was on the ready to unlock the doors for me to get back in. I drove up towards my house and we got in safely. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I woke up to find the tree was moved again, this time a few feet behind my car. To this day, I am still baffled at who could have done this or what their intentions were. Next time I will be smarter and call the police. I do have another question that I can't answer. How did someone know where to put the tree after I cut it down? Whoever had done this may have been watching me. I had to put the tree in the woods. That thought alone is enough to keep you up some nights. Red Dead Redemption is out October 10th. Yeah, that should be sick. Pretty stoked. What kind of stories are my favorite? I would probably say the paranormal ones. I know they're not the most popular as compared to like true scary stories. But I just can relate, not necessarily relate, but get quite a bit more spooked from the paranormal ones because they feel like they could happen to me anytime. Kyle Schneider is getting thirsty dancing there. Hey bro, been a while since I've been able to hear you live. Second shift with a kid-friendly work filter sucks. Yeah, the perks of working in the hospital. Anyways, thanks for uploading steadily. Much thanks. Absolutely, Kyle. Thank you. Appreciate that. I know the pains of working in a hospital because we're not allowed to get on any sort of anything. Otherwise, there's the ominous threat that Big Brother is going to be upset that you're saving lives, but God forbid you get on a YouTube video that entertains you a little bit. But enjoy second shift. Hope it goes well for you, man. Alright, so that was for Edgar. Thank you, Edgar, for the donation and the request. Delaney from earlier on had requested a paranormal story. So we shall read that for her. This one's called A Haunted Highway Encounter. Oh wait, I've already read this one. Whoops. Let's see here. Doo-doo-doo. Leading up to that, I would detail my cat Link was feral before I got her, so she is very skittish. I'll try this one. I don't think I recognize this one. I'm a 32-year-old male, and I've had several paranormal encounters throughout my life. I say paranormal because I don't think I can explain them any other way, but I'm still a skeptic streak, and will gladly accept any explanations that are offered. I will only tell this one, as it is the most scary, but if there is interest, I will tell more to include my time in the military. This particular instance is recent, within the last year. As I said, I served in the Army, and despite being a rather small guy, nothing much really scares me outside of flying. I know, stupid fear. Don't judge me. 9/11 really messed me up. After leaving the Army, I was granted disabled status and currently live at home taking care of my mother, who suffers from frequent seizures thanks to an aneurysm in her brain that nearly killed her. That happened during my second deployment, so, needless to say, I want to spend as much time with her as possible. Alongside my mother, her boyfriend and his daughter, who may as well be my stepsister, live here as well. I have a cat named Link, and the stepsister has a dog named Nova. Now that that is all out of the way, I can get to the story. My sister and I noticed when we first moved into this house, July of 2017, that the atmosphere was off. Not bad, just always got the feeling that we were never alone in certain places, and the air conditioning seemed to work a little too well. Cold spots. Having encountered such things before throughout my life, I immediately brought up the notion that the house may be haunted to my sister. She's a skeptic, so it didn't go over too well. At least at first. There have been several things leading up to this encounter that I will detail. My cat Link was feral before I got her, so she is very skittish. So much so that only I am allowed to pet and hold her, and even then only for short periods of time. My sister's dog, Nova, is young, less than a year, so still very much a puppy. Our pets will sometimes stare at places, the same place together, but neither really freak out. It's just as if something is talking to them, or at the very least caught their attention. My sister began to suspect that maybe I was right and that our house was haunted. One night, my sister, her father, and I, sitting out in the living room for our fabled movie night. At night, once a month, where one of us chooses a movie and we all watch it, thanks to modern technology, it can even be movies that aren't necessarily out yet. I remember this night well because it was a movie I chose. Thank you for your service. A particularly hard-hitting one, all things considered, but I believe that some demons are better faced down than hidden. As I said, we're all in the living room. To include Nova and Link was sitting in the kitchen under the table, but still part of our group in her own way. A particular intense portion had just played, and I was a bit upset, so Nova had tried to crawl into my lap. Dogs are funny like that. But I didn't want any attention, so I calmly pushed her down and told her I didn't want to love on her or play. Almost on cue, Nova's bone comes flying up the hallway as if though someone threw it, and I mean threw it. It hit the ground with enough force, it bounced and flew several more feet before hitting the front door with a sharp knock, and then falling to a standstill. The way our house is set up is down this specific hallway there is only my room, my sister's room, and our shared bathroom. With all of this in the living room, there was no way any of us could have thrown the bone. We were all in the living room, and my mother was in her room at the complete opposite end of the house. My mother's boyfriend leaped up and asked what the hell happened and if we had seen that. Of course, that was the proof I needed, and I implored them to listen to me that the house was haunted. Now, whatever is here doesn't seem bad at all. In fact, I would wager that it's just trying to cohabitate, if anything. Hell, it even seems to like dogs. My mom's boyfriend asked if we should get the house blessed, but my sister and I both declined, believing it was here first. If anything, we're the ones just passing through. Besides, it hadn't done anything bad. Fast forward a couple of months later, and I'm sitting in my room at my computer, much like I am now, with Link on my lap. She's purring and I'm rubbing her cheeks, but I know she just wants some wet food as I give it to her family regularly. I'll give it to her fairly regularly. And usually after she lets me love on her for an extended period of time. Hey, I know the way to a lady's heart. This specific instance, however, I told Link that she would have to wait a little bit as she has just had some wet food only a few hours prior. As if on cue, her wet food, which I keep on the corner of my desk in a cubbyhole, flies off my desk. But the way that it is set up is that it had to move out of the cubby, then sideways to the floor, as if telling me to stop being a jerk to my cat. Needless to say, Link got her wet food and I apologized. Now, the actual instance I am writing about, a lot leading up to it, I know. I'm a night owl, so I usually sleep the morning away and into the afternoon, but I stay up all night in case anything happens and my mom needs me. During the day, I tag off with my sister. This particular night, 2 weeks ago on my birthday, the 12th, I was playing Overwatch with an old army buddy, just shooting the shit and generally having fun. I have headphones, but I wear them around my neck and just use the mic anyways. Sydney, Higa, Spicy Meatloaf wants you to moan. This spicy meatloaf is gangster. Read a paranormal, please. Absolutely. Spicy Meatloaf, man. Just wants me to moan all night. Moaning's gonna cost you extra, bro. JK. I do it in public most of the time. Because again, my mother might need me for something, so I need to be able to hear. I hear pots clinking from the kitchen, and my immediate thought is that Link was messing with the pots and pans, and as she figured out how to open cabinets and she likes to poke around and just do general cat things. But then I remember two things. The pots and pans are in a cupboard high above the floor, so Link couldn't physically reach them. It was impossible. The second was that Link was asleep on my bed, curled up on my spare pillow, which she usually claims for her own. Figuring my sister was up and not wanting her to wake my mom, I tell my friend to leave Q for a game and that I would be right back. I exited my room and was immediately put on alert because the light in the kitchen was off. I quickly stepped back into my room and grabbed an old bayonet that I had picked up at a surplus store. Given my mental health condition, I just don't feel safe owning a gun, so I chose a knife instead. I mean, you've never really heard of someone actually stabbing someone else, right? I crept to the kitchen as quiet as I could and rounded the doorway to it. I see that the cabinets are indeed open, but there's nothing there. Nobody. I shut the cabinet and quickly go back to my room. As I said, not a whole lot scares me, but you can't fight ghosts with a knife. As soon as I push the door shut, not all the way, just cracked so I could still hear, I hear the pots and pans again. This time I throw my door open and march down the hallway, stopping dead in my tracks as I turn the corner into the kitchen. I arrived in time to see one of the cabinets physically open by itself. This one where our canned foods are kept. I turn on the lights, though I'm not sure if this was because I was curious or if I thought I would feel safer. The sounds stop and I quickly shut the cabinets before speaking softly to whatever may be listening. Look, I don't really care if you want to use our stuff, but my mother is trying to sleep. At least keep it down and put back anything you use." I told it. As I said earlier, I feel as if though we are on its turf and making a big deal may anger it. I don't know if that's the right call, but I would rather try to live with it than do battle with it. Anyway, that's it for now, and as I said, if you have any explanations, I'm open to them, but I cannot logically come to one without it being something paranormal. Thanks for taking the time to read. Yeah, make it make it pay rent, dude. Ghosts are an investment. They can pay in paranormal goo, protoplasm. Out of Body also wants to hear a paranormal story. Speaking of cats, my kitty's here. He's been so nice lately. Well, I mean, he's always nice, but while I'm like sitting at the computer, he'll come up and rub against my legs and then kind of like roll into my leg because he wants me to rub his belly with my feet. And I think that's pretty cute. That's pretty cute. Oh, yeah. Aaron McGarry with the $1. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. That's going to go to my cat. My cat's belly rub foundation. Okay, so once again, Out of Body would like to see a paranormal story. This one's called The Ghost Car of Picton. This story happened to me back in 2011 when I was 19. I live in Sydney, Australia, and this happened on a country back road on the outskirts of the city, at a place called Picton. Myself and 4 of my high school buddies decided to go for a drive with no particular destination in mind. We jumped on the highway at about 8 p.m. It was summer, so the sun was beginning to set. We took an exit off the highway and began driving down a few rural roads. Being that we had no destination in mind and that we were more focused on the music blasting out of the speakers, we eventually got lost. There was a full moon that night, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. After a while, we saw our car pull out from a side road about 100 meters in front of us. From the height of its red taillight, it looked to be a sedan. Being lost, we decided to follow the car. We did have signal on our phones and could have easily charted a route on Google Maps, but decided against it to see if we could find our way back by following this car. Dumb, I know. We maintained the 100-meter gap between us, the car, and followed at 80 kilometers speed limit. We eventually came to a long, straight dirt road with large treeless fields on both sides. We then saw the car's taillights make a left turn up ahead, and I thought, finally, we can get off this strange, straight stretch of road. This is when things get very creepy. We arrived to the turnoff about 10 seconds after the car turned off, but there was no turnoff, just a dead end. There was an old, rusty metal gate that was clearly locked with an equally rusty chain and padlock leading to an overgrown driveway with no clear tire tracks. There was no way that the driver could have unlocked the gate and driven down the driveway in the 10 seconds it took us to reach it. Even if they did, we would have seen the headlights and taillights going down the driveway, and if for some reason they decided to switch off, then we would have still seen the cars. The terrain was very flat, and it was a full moon. We all confirmed what we witnessed with each other. To this day, I still can't explain what happened. Did the car somehow evade our vision, or was this a lost soul returning to their earthly home after a tragic event? I'll never know. Oh, sorry. Jess lost her kitty after 14 years last year. I'm sorry. Man, cats, obviously, you'd want it to live for a lot longer, but man, cats do live a long time, that to the point where you get so used to them that whenever they finally pass away, it's like obviously just as hard to deal with it, you know, like a family member. It becomes such a staple in your day-to-day. Thank you, Adabody, for your donation and the paranormal story. Let's see. A Luigi board story. I'm gonna have to search. Okay. What happened after my first Luigi board usage? Last year, I was living with my best friend. We were both very interested and obsessed with the paranormal and decided we were going to try and contact someone who had previously lived there and actually passed away in the home. Well, we started trying to use it. We didn't actually think it would work, but it did. We used it for about 5 or 10 minutes before we had to close out the game so we could talk about it and share our excitement, but also make sure we weren't tricking each other. Now, we had already had little encounters here and there in her house, so it wasn't too surprising, but it was interesting. So we got in contact for a split second with who we thought may have been the previous owner. No info from him and never got in contact with him again. So after that, we decided to close out the game. After the game, we decided to watch YouTube videos, and she ended up going to bed after a bit. I wasn't tired, so I decided to stay up and watch Family Guy. While I was doing that, I started to see things, and at one point heard a whimper from the kitchen, but closer to the front door, which was not too far from me at all. I could see little black shadow things running through the shelves under the kitchen counter. I kept seeing something from the corner of my eye creeping out of her brother's doorway. I ended up shutting his door. I stayed up all night and didn't go to bed until daylight. There were many more experiences, but that's for another day. We never had super dangerous encounters, just minor yet intriguing ones. Beast mode. You were listening to B Busta. Nice. How's B Busta doing? I haven't seen any of his stuff or talked to him for quite some time. Okay, so thank you for the Ouija board request. Sydney would like to hear a paranormal story. Alright, Zero Rose 11 with the 10. Hi, your stories are really spooky and make good bedtime stories. Have you personally experienced anything creepy? Can you please read a true story? Thanks. I've said before in streams, but my creepy experiences have been kind of limited, I guess, to a little bit of sleep paralysis, but I didn't see any visions, just generally the sensation that there is something there, but you're paralyzed and dead. And, so there's that's sort of like paralysis. And then there was another time where I was in bed and 3 a.m. someone came into my house, walked all the way to my room, opened my door, and I was like, wrong room, bro. And I couldn't see who it was because they only opened it a little bit ways, and then they slowly closed it, and you could hear them walk out of the house. It's like, what the fuck was that? That was weird as shit. Alright, I saw we had gotten a donation from Constipator. Should I look under the bed? I wouldn't do it, Constipator. Unless you want to have the poop scared out of ya. It won't be Constipator anymore. Am I ripe? Am I right? Zero Rose, you would like... Can you please read a true story? Yeah, let me get you jotted down here. Okay. Don't dabble. Oh wait, that's Teresa Carlson. I hope I pronounced that right. Or Therese, or Therese. Hey man, I've been listening to horror stories in order to fall asleep for forever now, because insomnia is a bitch, and you've always been my favorite narrator. I could do with a true scary story. Keep it up. Thank you so much for the 20. I really appreciate that. You have to tell me how to say your name. Say your name, say your name. So, we'll get to that don't dabble, but let's look for a paranormal story here for Sydney that had donated earlier. Do 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 do. For starters, I've been a fan of Let's Read, as well as a few other scary narrators on YouTube for quite some time. I guess I'll start with my most unsettling, terrifying experience to date, the time that I think I saw a ghost. It may have even been a demon of some sort, who knows. Now, just to get this out of the way, nobody in my family has ever used a Ouija board, nor have we ever possessed anything of the sort. No tarot cards, no nothing. We're a pretty religious family, and as Christians, we don't even believe in getting our fortunes told or our palms read. That's all pretty shady stuff. I gotta sneeze. Luigi! Oh my god. Sorry. That was up there. That was a big build-up. Thank you for the blessings. And as Christians, we don't even believe in getting our fortunes told or our palms read. That's all pretty shady stuff, and we don't want no part of that devil business regarding how much fun using a Ouija board would be for me as a horror enthusiast. I hope I didn't blow anybody's ears out with that sneeze. Holy cow. That being said, I have no idea why or how we have some sort of spirit in my home, as I suspect it to be. It was 8 months, and I remember it being really cold outside. There wasn't any snow on the ground or anything because I remember raking leaves a few days after this incident. Holy poop. Kashi P with the 50 bonos on the dono. This is a weird request, but I want to hear an open waters shark or cruise ship horror story. The scarier the better. Let's Read is the best narrator. Okay, guys, fight me. Thank you, Kashi. That should be an interesting one, though. I definitely like that idea. Kashi. Open water. Shark. Cruise ship. Yeah, I hope I can find something that involves some sort of interaction, I guess, with wildlife on the open water. That would be pretty dang terrifying. And Chickaqua with the 10 says, I'm back. Lol. So my question for you is, what do you take of this Momo thing? Is it real or just a bot? Momo. Can anybody explain to me what Momo is? I honestly am, as I'm completely unfamiliar by, is it like a meme or a thing? Or did I just get memed? What is Momo? Momo is that debunked? Was that a creepy internet meme? I'm gonna look it up real quick. Momo challenge. Oh, that's creepy. Momo challenge makes 12-year-old from Argentina commit suicide. Oh, perfect. Girl takes own life in possible case of Momo challenge. Don't look it up. Momo, my mom uses that as a dirty word. Check out Top 5s will explain what Momo is. Alright. Top 5s. Real quick, let's see. It's top 5. I hate whenever you like search videos on Google, it doesn't show you the same search results that you would get from, I don't know, actually YouTube, even though there is YouTube. Titus Jacked with the 199. Can we get a creepy Shrek story? Yeah, we can see what we can find there. Shrek. I gotta figure out what the deal with this Momo John is. Momo money. Mo money, mo problems. Is that what it is? All right, sorry guys. Momo challenge. Top fives maybe. Or maybe I go to Top 5's channel, Tops 5s, and then look up Momos. Oh, there it is. It was like the first thing. 5 terrifying cell phone horror stories or urban legends. All right. You guys ready to hear this?
Every day, billions of people around the world spend hours on their phones. They have almost become an extension of the human body. And while they serve many useful purposes, over the years, they have been the cause of some horror stories.
Don't worry, I'm not going to show Momo.
Sometimes a number will be dialed that should never be called, or a very eerie occurrence happens when photos appear on people's phones that were never taken by the owner and have no reason for being there. Here are 5 terrifying cell phone horror stories and creepy urban legends. This video is brought to you by Amino because the paranormal. It's my good threats enough to some of your Q&A seem to have originated. Sit back.
Oh, here we go.
And enjoy. Momo the WhatsApp Girl. Momo the WhatsApp Girl seemed to have originated from a strange sculpture that was displayed at the Vanilla Gallery in Japan in 2016. The gallery is dedicated to showcasing some of the most bizarre sculptures created by independent artists from the country. And this particular one was called Guai Bird, which means monster law in China. It features a grotesque female face with half a body and legs of a bird, and to be honest, is pretty unnerving to look at, especially if you're alone at night. But this is just the beginning of the story. The image appeared on an Instagram account called Nanaku, and people were curious about its origins. Nanaku did state that she was not the artist, and its true creator was a Japanese special effects company called Link Factory. The image created a bit of a stir and started to appear on other Instagram accounts. Shortly after Momo's appearance online, a series of phone numbers were posted on Facebook that could be added to WhatsApp as a way of contacting Momo. This is when things started to get creepy. Although the majority of people who tried to message Momo got no response, there were a few who received back some disturbing messages. It seemed that if you did get a response from Momo, she will already know who you are and everything about you, and can sometimes be offensive in her replies.
Stalker.
The most popular number for her is 526-681-734-379. But we strongly advise you do not try to make contact, and if you do, then we cannot be held responsible for any graphic imagery or obscene messages Momo will send back.
Hey Momo, what's up?
Momo the urban legend has been around for 2 years, but only surfaced on Reddit and 4chan in the last few weeks. And as more people continue to message her, 4chan. It seems she's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Guys, I think I'm dating Momo.
No caller ID. The top 5...
It's over. So maybe I'm an idiot, but I didn't really hear what was bad about that. I guess you get some creepy messages and some girl committed suicide because of it or something weird. But yeah. Chaos Redemption says, huge fan, looking forward to the video at 7. Thank you. Yes, video. We got one more hour. The last hour countdown begins now, guys. We are on our way. We are on our way. To a new video coming out. Yeah, Momo's just lonely. I think we have lonely people in the chat. Why don't we could hook you up with Momo. Momo's cute. Titus Jecht with the $4.99. Thank you, Titus. I messaged that number a few days ago on WhatsApp, and nothing has happened as of yet. As of yet, Titus. As of yet. That's very important. All right. So, where were we on our list of top spookies to read? Sydney wanted to hear paranormal. Were we in the midst of reading one? Yes. Okay. But it was still incredibly cold out when the sun went down, which is one of the reasons that I think this thing wasn't human. Granted, it wasn't as though we were below freezing outside, so some pothead neighbor teenager hypothetically could have stood on our locked backyard, waiting for me to peek out of our closed curtains and see them, but that all seems extremely unlikely, especially because the face was looking at me. Did I miss something? 8 months ago, there wasn't snow on the ground or anything, but I remember raking leaves a few days after the incident. Oh man, I feel like I'm missing context with this story, but that's okay. I'm not exactly sure how to describe what I felt when I discovered the face outside my window against the pitch black. But I know it was something akin to what a deer in headlights feels. There's nothing quite like the terror of realizing you're being watched by a total stranger for who knows how many hours. I've been there for quite some time. The face was ghastly. I can't quite picture it in my head anymore, but I remember that the eyes were wide open and staring directly at me. I could tell that it was most likely a man's face by the facial structure, and also by its height, as the window it was stalking me through was pretty tall. To give you a better picture, I'm about 5'5", and when I'm standing outside that window, I can barely look in. I have to stand on my tiptoes, and even then, I can barely see anything. The way the face was positioned in the center of the glass, it must have been around 6 foot, which females, including myself, are not very prone to be. As I said before, when I saw the face, I went full deer in headlights mode. I was confused. Luis Rios, can I get a deep web, dark web story? Luis, my man, absolutely. Thank you for the 5. We'll see what we can do for deep webs. Those are like gold on the internet. I was confused, appalled, and extremely spooked. I pulled the window curtain close completely around the edges of the window where the face was seeing me from, and after a few long moments of pure shock, I pulled myself from my position on the couch to the safest place in the room, which, for some reason to me at the time, was the floor. I sat down a few feet directly in front of the window where the curtains were sufficiently shut, and stayed huddled on the floor as the shock and fear really started to sink in. At this point, I think I started to rationalize about the situation, calming down a bit, but at the same time I remember being completely and totally unwilling to move an inch from this weird spot on the floor that I had. Luis Rios again, how's your day going? Just saw your live stream. Day's going good, Luis, man. Yeah, we're having a good time here. I appreciate you jumping in. We're just reading through some spooky tales. It occurs to me that I probably like this position so much because I had my back against the couch I had crawled off of, which is pushed against the wall. I think animals also push themselves into corners or against walls when they're frightened to make sure that they can see everything and not have to worry about what's behind them, which is very interesting insight into the fear I was feeling in those awful moments. I remember my older brothers were both in the kitchen, which is about a room away, and that made me feel a lot more comfortable. However, despite my circumstances, calling for one of them is the last thing I wanted to do. I should rephrase that. I desperately wanted their help. Maybe one of them could peek outside of the window for me, but I was way too embarrassed. As the youngest in my family, I knew I would never hear the end of it. All I remember thinking to myself was what a pussy I was being when I realized that there were tears rolling down my cheeks. It was weird. It didn't feel like I was crying. The tears were just a gut reaction to the situation, like when you see your favorite food and your mouth automatically waters. I was so horrified that tears were spilling out of me with the shock keeping me from reacting much. I'm honestly not sure what I was thinking, but instead of enlisting the help of my 2 brothers, both in their 20s and many years older than me, I started posting about it on a site that I was on before I even noticed the face. Now, I went back 8 months in my post history to screenshot those posts that I made in those moments because I believe that you can feel the fear and shock that I was experiencing in the post. Despite posting not being the best idea, it was sort of a safe haven for me, and I'm now glad I made those posts because they may just make my story a little more believable. I'm honestly not sure how to include them. Long story short, after sort of crying and cowering in fear on the floor for a good few more minutes, one of my brothers comes in, and the super sweet friendly as luck would have it, and at this point I'm just happy to see someone besides the face in the window. After seeing that I'm kind of shaken and on the floor for no reason, he inquires and I gladly tell him what I saw, like the hero I need but didn't deserve. He pulls open the curtain to check it out and nothing is there, thank goodness. He helped me sort of laugh it off and I end up feeling much better after sharing what I'd seen. Granted, he's my big brother with 9 whole years on me, so I probably just look like a dumb little kid. Regardless, I respected his courage. I probably would have packed my bags and lived the rest of my life underneath my bed if not for him. So that's my story, or at least one of them. I definitely have a few others. For example, one time I was alone in the dark, scared and trying to console myself. At some point I had decided to say the Lord's Prayer in my head. Maybe I thought it would ward off any demons in the room with me and, at the very least, make me feel a little bit better. A mere moment after I started saying the prayer to myself, I swear on my life that I heard a hissing noise from somewhere in the room. The sheer ridiculousness, the very probability of something like that happening by coincidence, amused me more than scaring me, as I don't remember feeling frightened despite the possibility of me warding off a demon in the night. Maybe God was indeed protecting me, and I slept soundly that night. Oh, everybody's saying where they're from. Wow, look at that. Texas, Pennsylvania, Iceland, New Hampshire, California, West Virginia, Estonia, Nazi Germany, Boston, UK, Denver, England, Charlotte, England, California, New Mexico, Canada, England, Utah, Wow, that's... I guess I should expect that. It wouldn't make sense if everyone was from the same place. Oh, now we're just typing in things very quickly. Alright, so... Hello there, let's read We Meet Again. We will have to play The Forest again so I can give you advice that you usually read later, but then forget it somehow even though I gave it to you 1.47 minutes ago. It's true. I have gotten a lot better at The Forest since we last spoke. I think I'm not the fastest to grasp a concept, but once it gets lodged into my hard brain, it definitely sticks with me. So, we are now on to 0 rows with a very... Thank you, Sydney, for your generous donation. We're on to 0 rows with theirs, which I believe I had one ready to go up here called Don't Dabble. Let me start by saying this story takes place when I was 15. I'm 28 now, and this is by far the scariest thing that ever happened to me. I grew up in a very religious home. My family was heavily involved in our little southern church. My father was the deacon, my mother was the youth leader, my brother was the assistant preacher. You get the idea. I had jobs as well, but never took anything seriously. Everything started to fall apart when my brother left for the army. He wanted to get away from our strict parents, and that didn't sit well with them. My mom became an emotional wreck, and my dad worked all the time, so I was pretty much alone. It got worse when it came out that my brother was an atheist, but that's when I realized there were other options besides being a Christian. One day I decided to watch a movie I was forbidden ever to see, a movie about 4 teenage witches. They could change their appearance with spells and even make bullies' hair fall out. I'm sure you know what movie I'm referring to. Being somewhat overweight and constantly bullied, this piqued my interest, and I wondered if there might be some truth to it. I hopped on the internet, did a quick search, and immediately my screen was flooded with spells, rituals, potion recipes. I couldn't believe how much content was out there. After reading through a few things, I tried out a few spells. Nothing worked. Figures, but I kept trying. Just simple incantations to make my skin clearer or make me thinner. Eventually, I came across some darker material. I had a feeling of uneasiness and exited out, knowing black magic wasn't something to be messed with. The next day at school, I had a run-in with my usual bully, who I'll refer to as Ash. Ash and her friends mocked me, pushed me, humiliated me in front of students and teachers alike. Nobody did anything to help me, and I cried the rest of the day. On the bus home, I was bullied further. Not only did Ash ride my bus and live next to me, but she was my cousin. When I walked through the front door, rage hit me like a ton of bricks. I hated Ash. I wanted her and her goons to suffer. I wanted revenge. I ran to the computer and pulled up the page I had been afraid to look at before. I found a few dozen dark spells and started screaming them, one after another, directing everything I was feeling towards those girls who had treated me so horrifically. I released all the anger that had been building. It felt pretty good, though I didn't expect anything to happen. The next day was a little odd. Ash and her friends didn't bother me, didn't speak to me, and didn't even look my direction. It was awesome, and things were quiet like that for a few weeks. Until one of the lesser goon squad cornered me in the bathroom. She was usually just a bystander in the bullying, not taking part, but not stopping it. She began sobbing, asking me through her tears if I had done something to them. She revealed to me that none of them could sleep without having nightmares of my face. 2 of the girls had been too sick to even come to school. I acted like I didn't know what she was talking about and started to walk away. She grabbed my arm and pleaded with me to stop, saying that they would never bother me again. I leaned in close and gave her a message to spread to her friends. Mess with me again, and it will be so much worse. Then for dramatic flair, I screeched. And the noise I made caused her to jump back and ran out the door. Oh my god. I laughed harder than ever before. I felt invincible, like no one could ever touch me. It wasn't long until my own nightmares started. I went a full month without a solid night's sleep, waking up in cold sweats, barely able to breathe. I didn't know what was happening to me. My health deteriorated rapidly. I was having hallucinations of things I couldn't quite make out. Shadow monsters. The nightmares were always the same. This black blob with teeth chasing me, gaining on me, and right as it lunged, I would wake up. My parents thought it would be good for all of us to get out of the house for a while, so they took me camping in our RV. I slept decently for the first few nights. Then one night, I had the nightmare again, only this time it was different. I was running through the woods trying to escape the demonic blob. I ran for what felt like hours. I could hear it behind me, laughing and taunting me, when all of a sudden I saw a light through the trees. Not knowing and not really caring what it was, I ran towards it. I came to a clearing and could make out where the lights were coming from. My RV. I ran to it as fast as I could. With the black blob hot on my heels, I flung open the door and dove in my bed just as it grabbed my ankle. I woke up sweating, breathing hard, and my legs actually felt tired, like it wasn't a dream at all. When I was awake now and let out a sigh of relief that I had woken my parents, who were sleeping just 15 or so feet away, I rolled over to try and get comfortable when I felt something at the foot of my bed. I froze. I knew what I would see when I looked down, but I couldn't stop myself. Sitting there, mouth agape, displaying rows and rows of sharp teeth, was my nightmare. I screamed, sprang out of my bed, and ran straight to my parents, who were both awake now due to my screaming. I collapsed in my mother's arms and cried for a long time. She stroked my sweaty hair and calmed me down. When I finally caught my breath, she whispered, "What was that?" Knowing she would think I was crazy, I simply said, "Bad dream." She was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke again, a chill ran up my spine. "No. What was that thing chasing you?" I broke down and told her everything. The movie, the spells, the nightmares, everything. She hugged me and told me I shouldn't have dabbled in that mess. I agreed wholeheartedly. In the coming days, she prayed over me and anointed our house with oil, banishing all evil spirits. The nightmares ceased, as did the hallucinations, and I was on my way to full recovery. I turned my life back around and still attend the same church to this day. Regardless of what you believe, this story is 100% true. I'm thankful to be alive, and I share my story whenever I get the opportunity in hopes that it'll help someone else. I learned my lesson and will never dabble again. Did you know that Stan Lee's nurse said that he said to her that he wants to go sleep and die? Sad, to be honest. Well, I don't really know Stan Lee's situation. I heard that he was sick or something, but as depending on how sick and, whatever he is, like, as a nurse, I've worked in many scenarios where elderly individuals, get into a position in their life where they feel helpless and old and dying, and yeah, he's 95 years old. Like, who knows what kind of state he's in? I'm sure most of the parts he has in movies, like, I'm sure he's doing well because he's probably had decent health care, but I've heard plenty of patients say that they just want to die to nurses and stuff like that. So it's not an abnormal aspect of life, and obviously I pray that he is able to find peace in this life before shipping off, I suppose, to make comics in heaven. Zero Rose, I guess that wasn't necessarily a true story. And it kind of caught me off guard. Like, I read the dabble, so I kind of should have assumed that was, but it didn't say on it, like, it wasn't tagged on the subreddit as a paranormal one. I usually have people tag stuff, so I do appreciate your donation. I apologize that wasn't exactly a true scary story, but thank you so much for your dono. Lizzie wants to know my fave rapper. My favorite rapper is MF Doom, I think. There's a lot of good ones out there. I guess if we're talking modern people, there's even more. I do really like 21 Savage. I just think he's just funny. Just like a funny modern dude. But yeah, I really like, I like Southern Trap, hip hop and stuff like that, but I'm definitely more into like, stuff with like jazz beats and things like that. And I think a lot of, the lyrics and like, the mumble rap, as they say, is not the most intelligent, which, whatever. Sometimes you just want to turn up, you know what I'm saying? But, sometimes you like to hear something that has a bit of thought to it. So Therese, as Darkness Prevails here? Where is he? Where the hell is he? Maybe not. K-pop. I've never really listened to K-pop. I dated somebody at one point that really liked K-pop, and we did a workout to K-pop. So that was funny. But I myself have never really gotten into it. By the way, if you want to play an enjoyable game which has a rating of 9.7 on IGN, what you should not care about because they suck at reviews. And didn't they just steal somebody on IGN? And correct me if I'm wrong. I read on Our Games that they stole a review from a smaller YouTube channel. The person got fired, but I don't know why they thought that they would get away with that, especially being the biggest, most visible kind of thing. Dead Cells, the new Dark Souls. Okay. I'm going to write that down. Dead Cells. Teresa would like to hear a true story. I hope I'm getting that right. Therese. Creepy Tree Guy. This story takes place in the summer of 2017. My name is John. I live in a rural part of Alabama, but choose to work in the city. The drive is about 45 minutes or so, depending on traffic. However, by the time I pick up my son up from the sitter, get dinner, and get home, I've been in the car about 1.5 hours. My car is surrounded by trees, and the neighbors are few and far between. It can be pretty... I don't know why this story just sounded really familiar to me for some reason. It can be pretty lonely living here, but I enjoy the did I just read this? I'm a total idiot. Sorry, guys. Oh yeah, Jesus. See, whenever I don't leave the sorry guys, when I don't leave the window open or whatever, when I do a new story, it kind of catches me off guard there. All right, let's read a break-in story. This sounds pretty good. Sorry about that, guys. Me and my younger sister both wanted to have a Disney movie marathon in our living room one summer evening. Our parents agreed, telling us not to eat much junk food and staying up late. Eventually, after many hours and many Disney movies later, it was roughly 3 a.m. I admit I'm a huge baby and hate it when it's 3 a.m., the witching hour, and I would keep my bedroom light on until at least 4:15, but I just continued to watch the movie, munching on some popcorn and scrolling through my Instagram, now to understand the movie. I'll have to explain, this person literally didn't put periods, and it's just one big wall of text. But I guess that's fine. I'm sorry. It's just kind of throwing me off. I don't know where to start and stop. I'll have to explain my living room. When you walk into it, there's a small table with 3 bookshelves to your right, and with a huge window with curtains that are always closed to your right. There's a twin bed, and there are smaller beds to the right of it. Then there is a huge table with craft supplies and the family computer and a glass door to the backyard, which was open, but the screen door to it was closed, and there was a sliding door to the kitchen from our living room. My younger sister was asleep on the bigger bed, and I was stuck with the smaller bed. It was designed for a small child and was Princess Castle themed, with a part of it in the back sticking up, mimicking a castle design. I was half watching Mean Girls and half on my phone scrolling through Instagram until I heard a male's voice say in a whisper, but just loud enough for me to hear, "Hey." I felt a chill down my spine, but blow it off as the TV, until less than 2 minutes later, I hear 2 more, "Hey, hey." My eyes widened. The voice said it again, nearly in a sing-song tone. I felt tears well up in my eyes and my body physically not allowing me to move from the spot on that tiny bed. My hands were shaking, and I felt like I wanted to pull the small pink blanket over my head and say it's not real, but it was real. My head turns to my little sister in a deep sleep on the bed. My only thought was that I need to protect my baby sister somehow. By the grace of God, my still shaking hands could move, and I opened up the text app and started messaging the one friend I knew that was still awake. "Isaac, are you still awake?" I messaged, hands trembling and shaking, misspelling several words. He replied saying he was still up, and I explained everything to him. I asked him if I could call him, and he said yes. I called him, freaking out. I finally moved behind the bigger bed, shaking and running around the room looking for a weapon. There isn't much to say about this part of the story because I was very sleep-deprived and about to have an anxiety attack. Eventually I ran to my room upstairs, grabbing my baseball bat and searching through countless articles on Google for what to do when there's a home invasion and what are the weakest points of the body during this time, which were roughly 2 hours. I heard multiple times footstep clicks and bangs against the side of my house. Eventually, when it was daylight, I fell asleep clutching my baseball bat tightly. I woke up at around 1 p.m. before telling my family. I did something very stupid. I grabbed my baseball bat and my phone to the backyard, wearing nothing but my Alice in Wonderland yellow pajama pants and a hot pink shirt saying Dreamer Girl wearing flip-flops. It looked like instead of searching for a person trying to break in hiding in the backyard, I looked like I was ready for a pillow fight. I checked everywhere, holding my dog by her leash, running around the backyard for nearly half an hour before telling my grandfather I heard strange noises in the backyard, but that was the end. Like that ever happened to me again. That was the end. Nothing like that ever happened to me again. Thank you. Kaylin Sanchez would like a true story. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Do you think I'll ever do another Crypt TV live stream? Not that I don't like those awesome streams. Probably not. I did that as like a promotional thing with them. And, I mean, if they just wanted me to only do a live stream, that was a good time. But whenever I was trying to make, like, other videos that were on the channel for them, at the time, it was actually probably, I was kind of taking a loss, I feel like, based on what they were paying me to do that. And it seemed as if though like they didn't have like hyper expectations for what I was going to produce, but I don't know, it kind of felt like a real big pain in the butt to like sort of have to make a piece of content and then show it to someone before they like okayed it, you know what I mean? And obviously that's what happens in like real life production and stuff, but it was pretty frustrating there to have like, especially if you're time crunched for things and you got other stuff going on and all that kind of stuff. But true story. Kaylin Sanchez. Therese, thank you. Or Teresa, thank you for your donation. Kashi wants to hear an open water shark cruise ship story. I don't understand. Do kids have super speed or what? Like, oh my god. I don't know. That story was a little rough to read because she didn't put a single period in it, and it was one big, like one big paragraph. So if you guys do submit a story, please use grammar and basic syntax and periods and commas and things like that. Just to, I mean, obviously that conveyed a message or conveyed the story, but it just makes my life a lot easier whenever I'm reading it for like the subscriber submission stories and stuff, which a lot of them, obviously I don't have a lot of people on that sub, so make sure you go join that sub and upvote things that you think are good, for more visibility, and tag stuff that's true stories and paranormal or whatever. But it's cool to see like some really quality stories that you don't need Let's Not Meet or whatever with thousands of upvotes to validate the quality of a story. You can come across some pretty good ones. But the subreddit Let's Read Official, or you can submit your stories to letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com, and then I'll just put them on that subreddit. Thank you, Lizzie, for that. But yeah, so an open water shark cruise ship story. That is a little hyper specific, but at the same time, I think it can be done. You just have to bear with me. So I join mid-story. When someone donates, they ask for a type of story, and he tells it, yep, you can do that. You're more than welcome to do that. And basically I have over here, like, when you donate a certain amount, like, I can do my best to, especially if it's higher, it can, be longer, hopefully, just to give you some bang for that buck. But obviously I appreciate anybody's donations, and I'm still happy to read something for you if there's something that you'd like to hear narrated. Open water. Let's see. Shark. He was circling my car like a shark. Something. Oh yeah, like maybe cruise ship. Cruise ship seems more doable. What about just cruise? Cruising USA. Yeah, this one, Egyptian cruise, goes south. Pizza Hut. Alright. When I was around 10 years old, my family took a trip to Egypt. It was sort of half cruise down the Nile. We would stay often in various spots to check out things, and I don't think we honestly actually traveled on the boat very far. It's where our rooms were, though. My memory is a bit shaky on the finer points, as it was almost 20 years ago, but I do remember lots of the cool things we went to see and do. The Great Pyramids, riding a camel, museums, mummies, etc. But I also remember a lot of not-so-fun things, like the tour guide telling my family that my mother and I could never be by ourselves without either our male family members or others from the tour group. They told us that the men in the country would see a single woman as someone seeking sex, as they wouldn't travel alone otherwise, or the man offering my father a herd of camels for me and a bit less for my mother, as she was older. On the top of the ship we were staying at there was a swimming pool. One morning, as I was using it, sporting a one-piece bathing suit, there was a boat driving past where we were moored, full of men. They were hooting and hollering, applauding, and making general ruckus as they could see me, and I put on theatrics because of it, diving in the pool, strutting around, loving the attention. I cringe at this now. Years later, my mother told me how on a store selling souvenirs on shore she was groped by the seller. He was placing a necklace on her and gave one of her breasts a really invasive feel. She told my father, and he shrugged it off at the time, and she was still mad at him over that. I understandably so, as I would be too. And to this day, I remember the one morning my parents went to go watch the sunrise over the desert. It required a very early wake-up, and my brother and I declined to go. So while my parents were out in the desert looking at the sun, my brother still sleeping, I decided to go to the pool. This may have been the same day that I was catcalled, since I was at the pool area by myself, but I'm not 100% sure. I do remember that on top of the ship, there was a hatch going down one level near the pool. That day I eyed it and decided I had to know where it went. It was easy to open, and I climbed down a short ladder to the deck below. This deck was still open on the outside, with doors leading to compartments and such. The way the boat was moored, we were a couple of ships out from the port. To get off the boat, you'd have to traverse the other ships in between, and I think this was a normal thing. They were all lined up together, and the travelers would simply disembark by going through the various ships until reaching shore. I went right when I reached the ladder bottom, noticing major differences from the other areas of the boat I had been on. This area was dirtier, and there were ropes and other junk lying around. I found where the kitchens were, and I stood a while looking through the window. I remember it seemingly rather gross looking in there, which redoubled my desire to never eat there. My family had already decided not to eat on the boat when a waiter visibly sweated into the soup he served us. I went back towards where the ladder was, then continued a bit to the left. From this vantage point, I could see all the ships between ours and shore. I think there was around 3 to 4 total. I noticed on the far ship that a man was hopping over the railings and coming towards me, one boat at a time. This is coming through the main area, which had been set up for the tourists to easily get through all the ships to get to shore. I backed up a bit, back towards the ladder, as I realized he was making a beeline toward me. He came over the railing, and I don't remember what exactly he said to me, but it was an introduction in heavily accented English. He asked me if I wanted to party. I was a little confused. In my head, party is when parents have friends over and lots of music and dancing. I liked parties. Sometimes I got to stay up late and dance too. I don't remember exactly how he convinced me, but I remember standing in the open doorway to the cabin where he was inviting me in. It smelled like smoke, and there was a haze all throughout the room. 3 men in the traditional garb, I don't know what it's called, the long flowing dress like shirts they wear with the headgear as well, sitting and smiling at me, waving their hands. A hookah nearby them, bottles everywhere. Outside the room the sun was shining and everything was bright and lit up. In there was an underlying smell I couldn't place, smoke drifting, and the blinds were all shut, giving the room a reddish tinge. Out of nowhere, that memory is the most vivid. I remember looking up at the smiling, mustached man standing in the doorway. He wasn't intimidating, a bit scrawny. He had a good smile that didn't seem off. My little prepubescent brain did light up, though. It went, I'm pretty sure this is one of those situations I'm not supposed to be in, and I really need to go right the heck now. #heckin'. So I booked it. I turned tail, skedaddled to the ladder. It wasn't that far. I didn't look back a single time. Just got up the ladder as fast as I could and ran back to our room. My brother was in, where he was still sleeping. I told my parents after they returned. They made a complaint, but nothing ever came of it. The room in question was just a crew member's lounge or something. I never saw any of those guys again. My parents left Egypt disgruntled, and I never really thought about it again till a few years later when I was older. Would I be dead by now? Sold into a sex ring? married to some Egyptian guy with a bunch of kids by now. It makes me shudder to even think about it. I'm very grateful that my school did cover a little, not enough, about stranger danger. It was enough to make me reject the very friendly guy and realize this was a bad situation for me to be in. With all the weird situations that happened on that trip and the fascination I apparently held for being so young, I can't help but think that something terrible would have happened if I'd gone into that room.
Hashtag motherheckin'. Brown was there. Just accept it. What is Brown?
Oh man. I hope that was an okay read for you, Cashy. I do really appreciate the donation, though, very much so. We are getting into the last little bit here, so I'm going to have to really burn through a few of these guys, but I really do appreciate you guys all coming out and donating. I'm going to have to burn through these last stories, but so let's Shrek is Love. I've always wanted to make like a follow up to that. I'm sure there's been many sequels, but I've almost wanted what's his name, Axeman Cartoons to make to help me make like a fifth like sequel or something like that. Jack Sully, miss you, buddy. Cheers. Thanks, Jax, for the 2. Appreciate that. Miss you too. What are you up to? I was only 9 years old. I loved Shrek so much. I owned all the movies and merchandise. I prayed to Shrek every night, thanking him for the life I had been given. Shrek is love, I say. Shrek is life. My dad hears me and calls me a faggot. He is obviously jealous of my devotion to Shrek. I called him a cunt. He slaps me and sends me to my room. I am crying now because my face hurts. I go into my bed and it is very cold. I feel warmth moving towards me. I feel something touch me. It's Shrek. I am so happy. He whispers into my ear, "This is my swamp." He grabs me with his powerful ogre hands and puts me on my hands and knees. I'm ready. I spread my ass cheeks for Shrek. He penetrates my butthole. It hurts so much, but I do it for Shrek. I can feel my anus tearing as my eyes start to water. I push against his force. I want to please Shrek. He roars a mighty roar as he fills my butt with his love. My dad walks in. Shrek looks him deep in the eyes and says, "It's all ogre now." Shrek leaves through my window. Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
Oh shit, that's a great... Honestly, if you guys haven't seen that video, I would highly recommend it. And all of its subsequent sequels, I don't know if they're quite as good, but someone should write me a part 5 or something for that, and we'll make a nice little animation for it. Yeah, that video has Shrek is Onion. That video has existed for quite some time. Shrek? Louise, I am going to have to be disappointing to you, but I don't know if we have any deep web stories available. But I do appreciate your donation, obviously, but I'm going to read something here for you, my laddie. What about a UFO story? That sounds pretty good.
To start, I live in a small town in the middle of Minnesota, and I've always been convinced that extraterrestrial beings are real, but I haven't had any personal encounters until this happened. It was the middle of July in about 2014 or 15, something like that, and my dad and brother and I had gone in our backyard to stargaze at around 10 o'clock.
Visceral Tales with the $2 says, Shrek is life, Shrek is love, Shrek is life.
Absolutely. I know, dorky, but we liked it and had thought it'd be pretty cool. Here's some background. I'm a dude, and at the time I was 12 and had a 5C iPhone. It was a piece of shit. This is somewhat essential to the story. In our backyard was an opening surrounded by trees, so we were out there for about 15 minutes and not much happened, like maybe 1 or 2 shooting stars went by. So I decided to watch behind where we were sitting. About 5 minutes go by and we see nothing. Then I point out why it was so silent. My brother then got scared and my dad said he hadn't noticed. We were about to go back inside, but then my eye catches something moving in the tree line. It comes into view, and we all see this thing that has to be at least 100 feet off the ground, no higher. It is silent. If I hadn't seen it, neither of us would have. We watch it as its 5 rotating orange lights pass beyond our view. Once it was gone, we tried to discuss what it was. During that time, another one came from the exact same spot as the first one came from. It looked identical. I told my dad to wait to see if another one comes, and sure enough, another one did. I tried to get a picture of it, but my 5C wouldn't have gotten it, even if it were in the middle of the day. I was deciding if I should go through the forest and follow the UFOs, but didn't, being the 12-year-old pussy I was. We waited for any more to come, but none did, and I've regretted not going after them, because we're still not sure what we saw. My dad always said that there were drones, but I've seen and heard them, and they're pretty dang noisy and small for what we saw. I have not had any other encounters with UFOs before or after this. I still wonder what it could have been, but all I know is we're not alone. I spilt the cocaine. My 16-year-old told me about the Shrek one. Now the tuna box video is going viral. Shake my head, damn you young people. Times sure have changed. Absolutely. SCP Containment Breach got updated 1.3.10 version with SCP Unity Edition 2, 0.5.8, I think. Just an update on horror games if you want. There is Lasso. There is also a SCP multiplayer game. Cool. I could see if we can include that in, do a stream or include that in the background of some videos. Alright guys, so this will be our last story here before I have to ship off. Where did I get those Shrek stories? You can find it on The Tale of Shrek, Troll Pasta Wiki. You can just type in Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life on Google and you'll find it. Alright. Last story here, guys. Thanks so much for everything. This one is for Kaylin Sanchez, and she wants a true story. Jake Solly with the $2 says, "Love your voice, homo." Extra homo involved in that one. That's okay. I appreciate it. Alright. I'm 18, female, and from Chicago. I'm also Latina and speak Spanish perfectly. I say this because there would be a little bit of Spanish, but I will translate. A couple of weeks ago, I was visiting my boyfriend and we had an argument. Titus Jecht, 199, what are your favorite horror movies? Oh man. Recently, The Conjuring 2, and I really want to see, what is it? A Quiet Place, and there was another one that recently came out. Let me know if you guys remember it. Normally I would have charged my phone at his place if it was on low battery, but because we had argued, I just stormed off with my phone at 3%. Yolanda Sanchez, you have the best voice. Thank you, Yolanda, for the 5. That's really nice of you. Thank you. I decided to get something to drink at a dollar store not too... Oh yes, Hereditary. Nice. People say that's pretty good. So I'd like to check that out. And I want to see The Nun, Lizzie, absolutely. Slender Man. Shit, there's so many good ones out. I decided to get something to drink at the dollar store not too far away from his house and then decided to head home. As I'm driving home from getting a Diet Coke, I have to stop for a stop sign. Now, I was going around 30 miles per hour, which was the speed limit, so I was a little surprised when someone behind me beeped at me to go. I wasn't going to let some asshole in a hurry dictate when I had done a long enough stop. There was a kid crossing the street. I looked at the person through my left side mirror and gave him the stink eye when I noticed there were two males in a bright green beetle car waving and smiling at me through the mirror. It's not to be conceited, but I'm not bad looking, so I was a little used to this type of action. I drove off and paid them no mind. The street we were on is a big street, so there is a lot of stop signs and lights, and of course I had a red light at the next corner. The car drove into a restaurant driveway on my right, close enough for me to hear them. The passenger yelled, "O donde vas, mami? Te acompañamos." I'm not very good at Spanish at all. Luis Rios with the 5 says, "Damn it, pause the vid, but can't go back to see my deep web, all because I got hungry. Can I get another deep web if it's cool? If you can't." Luis, I feel bad. I actually read like a paranormal UFO story for you instead, because I really gotta be honest, like, I don't know where to even get deep web stories. Like, if they exist, they're all like done to death from like no sleep and various ones. If you find one, if you find a bunch, send them to me, and I will get you a deep web story, or definitely read that one on the next stream. But heard about Grebma. I heard it's spreading at your part. Be careful, mate. Thank you. I'll be very careful of Grebma. It's honestly one of the most dangerous airborne pathogens known to man. Which translates to, "Where are you heading, Mommy? We'll go with you." I was starting to get really annoyed and floored it as soon as the light turned green. I lost them for a good 2 minutes through my mirror. I saw what looked like to be the same car about 4 cars behind. Were really following me, or did they just happen to need the same route? I turned right in a street that would also lead me home, but wasn't my usual route, just to test out a theory. Sure enough, the car made the same turn, and lo and behold, another red light. There was a Tahoe in front of me that was turning right, me and the green car. The men in the car did a weird move, so they were close enough to my window, but I would end up hitting their car as I drove. The same guy yelled, "Por qué tan sola?" "Why are you so alone?" Luis Rios, $2. It's cool. Thank you, Luis. Well, the driver asks in English, "She is alone, isn't she?" At this point, I'm terrified but also angry. What ends up making me angrier is when this idiot decides to reach into my car and grab a strand of my hair. The lady in the Tahoe in front of me is apparently witnessing all of this and moves slightly left so I can get around before she turns and signals for me to go as soon as the light turns green. I do, and again lose them for a bit. You guessed it, they're back on my tail. I was pretty close to home, and there's a gas station nearby where the workers know me since I always get junk food and fill up on gas there. I pulled in and pretended to be calling my brother. I don't know why I chose my brother, but I did say, "Yeah, call the cops, I'm on such and such street." As soon as they heard cops, they left. I ended up going home cautiously and told my brother what happened. He was obviously upset that it happened and that he wasn't with me. I wish he would have been. He's only 16, but almost 6 feet and really bulky, so he could have effed them up easily. And that's my story. Be safe, everyone. Creeps are all over, and even though you may be in a car, in that moment, you may freeze up. Guys, yeah, make your own deep web stories and send them to me. Maybe someone, you never see those new videos where it's like, I bought a package off the deep web or something like that. I've been hearing about those. I need to check them out. But guys, we are in the next 5 minutes. The video will be dropping, and I need to jump off this live stream ASAP, Rocky. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this live stream. Thank you to everyone who donated, and I really hope I read the stories sufficiently for you. And 333 people, that's really solid. Really solid showing here of individuals for the live stream. All the streams will be available. You can see in the link down below, will be available on the streams playlist, because I will make them unlisted so that they don't kind of take up space on the normal page. Jump on the Patreon if you haven't, if you want early access to audio and that kind of stuff, other cool things that I might put on there. old content and things like that. Be sure to submit your stories and everything on the Reddit, my subreddit at Let's Read Official, or email them to letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com. Get a merchandise, get some merchandise, get a shirt at shop.spreadshirt.com. Let's Read. Follow me so you can keep up with all the updates on the channel and all my nonsense that I put on Twitter and Instagram, and still have my Facebook up there, but I don't really use Facebook to promote anymore. Background music is from Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse, so thank you to him, and go subscribe to his channel if you liked the background music on this stuff. Venikin's art with the $2 last minute love. Jake Solly with the $2 last minute love. Thank you guys so much. Love ya. Enjoy today's video. It's out in like 4 minutes. Please go show that some love. Let me know if you're coming from the stream. Next live stream, I'm hoping to potentially do, maybe tomorrow we'll play some Monster Hunter. Possibly, I can't guarantee that because I'll be working on a video for Friday and Saturday. Maybe potentially, hopefully I can, if I get everything done, then I can do what we did today and narrate leading up, some live readings leading up to the new video that comes out at 7. So, all right, guys. Love you. Take it easy. Stay well. Enjoy today's video here. And I'll see you soon.